Right? Got it.
Am I on?
Okay, we are on. Yep. So,
Fabulous.
hello everyone. It's
Hello.
Lady Amy with Houses of Windsor and Lady Nancy Rodriguez, and we are, I don't know, tea across the miles.
See, we are two tea ladies having tea across the miles or something like that.
That's right.
We are two Anglophiles.
Yes, we're
What
Anglophiles.
with it? We are. We feed our disease through heavily caffeinated teas. Just not today. We're going to go for a little bit of Aruba. So, Amy, we haven't seen each other or talked really since before the holidays. It's been crazy whirlwind, all kinds of stuff.
Yes.
So my hosting, this is
Yes.
Amy's Zoom, but it was my turn to send the teas.
Yes.
Went with sort of a holiday. I thought I sent her all decaf Rubus teas, but one of them is a black. So we have, this was actually a lovely little gift from my son. Teas for the holidays. It's a Republic of Tea, not loose leaf blend, but Republic of Tea has like ungodly amount of flavored teas.
Oh, yeah.
This is a nice little box that he gave me. So the first one I have is the Comfort and Joy, which is a black tea and very, very holiday-ish. I think we find this blend a lot around the holidays. You can smell clove and cinnamon, maybe some anise, stuff like that in there, maybe a splash of cinnamon. The second one is cinnamon vanilla, which I have to say, here we are in cold winter months up here in Virginia. And at the end of the day, even after dinner, sometimes I just want to get my jammies on and wrap my freezing cold fingers around a nice warm cup. And but I don't want the caffeine to keep me up all night. So I really enjoyed the cinnamon vanilla. And I've tried to do it without the sugar too. And it's very pleasant. And the third, of course, is peppermint bark, also a green rubus. Not a big peppermint fan for my tea. But if you are, I think you might find this one pleasant because it's a little bit of a chocolate note in there too.
It smells great. Yeah, I was just sniffing it, the peppermint one. I mean, they all smell great. But
I do love peppermint bark. I don't need it in my tea, but I do love peppermint.
Okay, gotcha. Well, you're talking about being in the cold and wanting to put your hands on a warm mug and everything. So when we were in Indiana and then in Indiana for an extended amount of time, I actually drank a crazy amount of hot chocolate. I just wanted hot chocolate all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. It was like tea wasn't even going to cut it. It was like, I need something that is like so cozy. Right now.
So, I told you that's how one of the reasons I started drinking tea, because I knew I was ingesting so much sugar with the hot chocolate. And I was like, I can't keep doing this. I had a friend who would walk around with a mug of really warm water. And I'm like, what are you drinking? She says, it's just warm water. I need to stay hydrated, but I can't do the cold water. And she says, and it keeps my hands. So that's how she would warm water. Warm water. I just
no,
can't do that. I can't do that.
Interesting.
So, yes.
Yeah, put tea in it.
So I'm steeping mine. Are you brewing?
Yes, yeah. So I'm steeping mine.
Okay.
And let's see. So
very different colors here.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. The peppermint one is very yellow.
Yellow, very yellow. Speaking of yellow teas, yes. So I had a tea for some friends. It was a very good friend of mine up the street. I said, why don't you come over? I'll make scones. And just be the two of us, we'll have tea. And then I ran into another friend. I said, why don't you join us? And then I was subbing at the local school and the ladies in the office, I'm like, why don't you come over? I'm just going to do this thing. And
I love it.
The next thing I know, I've invited 10 people over for tea. And I ended up making a couple of sandwiches.
Of course. Yeah.
Of course I did. So in the house, like you, I'm quite a bit of a Christmas nut. So the house was just beautifully decorated. And the day we had the tea was nasty outside. It was beautifully gray outside where all the Christmas lights, 20 hours into the afternoon, you could see the Christmas lights inside and out. It was really lovely. Awesome. So my British friend, Emma, Emma comes over and she's like, oh my God. She's like, your house is like all Christmas. And I'm like, this is how I do it. Yeah. And she was like, it was so lovely. And then when she came in and saw my spread on my dining room table, she goes, oh my God, you do tea better than the Brits do. And I'm like, oh, love. And then once we returned and I see her out on the playground at the school, and we were talking and she threw a couple of Brit words at me, and I'm like, no, I know what that is. I know what that is. And she would laugh. She goes, you really are. She told me, she said, you really are British in an American body.
Love it.
Love it. I love being around her. She makes me feel good about my disease. She's awesome.
That's really great. Yeah.
She was born in Wimbledon, in the Wimbledon area. And there's a word for that. And that was something I didn't know. And I couldn't pronounce it right now to save my life. But there's actually a term for people who were born in the Wimbledon area. Like you and I would probably say like a Wimbledonite or something like that.
Yeah.
Different.
Okay.
So
like how there's like Chicagoans and
yes, exactly. So yeah, she's just a riot. I love talking to her. She was so funny. I told her that my husband once in a while, I don't know why he says it, but he does, but he'll say, I'll be like, on a Saturday, he's like, do you need a nappy? And I'm like, a dirty British diaper? And then we were talking with our other friend who's an Anglophile, my friend Lori, who's a 5th grade teacher. Mm-hmm. And her name's Lori, and she says she hates that her name when she goes to England, that her name is like a truck.
Oh, right. Yeah, that is. Yeah, that's
so right. My British friend, her name is Emma. I said, there's something very imbalanced here. I said, I'm a dirty diaper. She's a truck, and you're a Jane Austen novel. There's something not right there. Anyway, I have steeped, I have sugared.
I have steeped and I have sugared number 1, the Comfort and Joy.
I think you can see from the angle of my camera.
Yeah, yours. Yeah, you can see really well with yours.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the so-called black tea, the Comfort and Joy tea, has a typical black tea look, sort of an amber color. The rooibos, cinnamon, and vanilla is very red. I mean, that's why it's called red tea. Right. This one is most surprising, but it's a rooibos, but it's a green rooibos tea.
Oh, you're right. It is green rooibos.
Yeah. So I think that's why it's so much fairer than the others and very yellow looking. So, but I have a plethora of smells coming at me. Mm-hmm.
I'm sniffing number 1. Yeah, the Comfort and Joy.
Yeah, the Comfort and Joy.
Smells really good. Oh, here comes a cat, just in time.
I get a strong flavor of orange in there, which again would be if you put your clove with your orange, cinnamon, and anise, that would be very, very hot. Hello, cat.
I know, right? Here's baby Breck.
That is good.
So what's interesting in that, now it does say natural flavors, which could be anything. Correct. But it doesn't actually list orange. It says apple pieces, licorice and apple pieces.
No, I totally get an orange out of that, don't you? There's almost like orange cranberry sauce. It's very holiday. It's very holiday.
It is, yeah. It's a really nice, like I don't know. It's just a really nice flavor, like the whole, it's well-rounded.
I agree. There isn't, although I didn't expect the orange. I think it blends well with everything else. Sometimes you get it and the clove is too much. Sometimes you get it and the cinnamon is too much. Right. I don't like anise very much. It reminds me of licorice, and I am not a licorice kind of person. Yeah. But I think this is really good. I don't know if you drink mulled wine. Have you ever tried German mulled wine?
Yes. Yeah, I have.
Mulled wine. Ooh.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I love to have that again because I'm cold up here. I know, do you want wine? I'm like, yeah, it's hot.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, go warm it up.
But I love the spices that are in there. That's what this would be, in your
right. Yeah, it's very good. I like it.
It is very good. And I think you sent me a tea like this before. And then there's the Twinings that always has their Christmas holiday blend.
Yeah, their holiday ones. Yeah. But I gotta say, this one I like it a lot. It's good.
I do too. And I think it's because of that orange that comes through that I don't think I've gotten through with some of the others. So yeah, very nice.
So now I'll move my other cup over here and I'll sugar it while you explain what we got.
This one is the rooibos cinnamon vanilla. So as I said, this is I like wrapping my hands around this at the end of the day. And very red, but I'm not a big rooibos fan. And I can tell by the flavor. I can always tell that it's a rooibos tea.
Yeah.
If it's not by the color alone. But
because there's always like an earthy smell and taste to it.
Very, very much so.
Almost like a clay or something. Like it's not
really interesting.
Right? Like it's
not that tea wheel, honey.
I know, because I'm like, well, it just hit me that I'm like, it's not like a grassy earth though. It's not like tea grass. It's like, no, it's like clay. right?
That's really interesting. I think you're really spot on with that one. That's interesting. Not that I go around making tea of clay or eating clay, but I
Right.
can see, and maybe it's reminiscent of the color. So rubus comes from Africa. Africa can make some really good teas. Just, like I said, I've tried caffeine-free English breakfast, and it lacks so much. You take the caffeine out and you've just taken all the richness of black tea.
Right.
So I don't care for it. So if I'm going to do it caffeine free, this one's pretty good. I like this.
Gotta
Nice.
be naturally,
Yes.
caffeine free. Yeah. Okay, so let's see.
It smells good. It's actually quite good when it's sugared.
That's good. Yeah, it's like I'll add just a little bit more sugar.
But see, you're right. When it finishes, how did you come to clay? How did you come? But it is.
Like the smell hit me where it was just like, oh yeah, that's the kind. That's what I mean when I say earthy. Like it's not like dirt and mud. It's like I don't know. You're in a pottery class.
Yeah, and it coats too. So, and which I think is probably kind of like the rubus. But I do like I said, I like this one in the evening, and I will do this when I force myself to do it without sugar at the end of the day. I do say force would be the operative word there.
Right.
Very much so.
It's very, I like it. It's very good.
Good.
And it also has an added like a mellowness to it or whatever. Like it's a good flavor, profile.
I agree. And I think, this would be great for after dinner to go with the dessert or be the dessert if you wanted to share it.
That's true.
Yeah. I've got a friend who only takes her tea without sugar.
I know a good handful of people like that.
I know. I'm jealous. I wish I could. I don't enjoy tea as much. I feel it's like eating meat without salt. That salt brings out the natural, seriously, but it brings out the flavor.
Yeah, right.
It really brings out the beauty of what tea could be. My friend Emma does that. She says, no, I like my tea savory. And I'm like,
ew, yeah. No.
But she just means without sugar, I guess.
No, I know. But yeah, that's funny. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I'll do sugar.
I know. So she's like, I had all my teas out on my on the counter, and she's like, oh my God, you got so much tea. I'm like, that's what we do in America. I had her try the Monk's Blend, which is cherry vanilla. I just recently sent her, I gave it to her at school.
Sounds nice.
The cherry fig, the figgy pudding tea. It's just still.
Oh yes, yeah.
She brought me a big thing of Tetley tea. Now you and I have had that discussion about Tetley and Lipton. Now Tetley and Lipton are British companies.
Right.
But she said this is very different. This is not American Tetley. This is British Tetley. She said somebody gave me American Tetley, and she said, and I knew the second it hit my tongue.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So she gave me a massive thing of it. It is scrummy. It is a solid. How do I say it? It's like a chewy black tea. I don't know how else to say it, but you and I don't like weak teas. You know what I'm saying? It's not like a weak tea.
Well, like I feel like all the ones that I have, like Yorkshire Gold or like I don't know, PG Tips, whatever. It's like they all are like just strong black tea. Like
yes.
Is that how you would describe it? Is that what you mean?
Very, but it stands well on its own. So like the Ahmad tea that I like very much. I gave that to her. I'm waiting for her verdict on that one because I told her, I said, I think you would like this one because it's a good hearty black tea. And so she gave me that, and I really have enjoyed the heck out of that tea. I still have some of it left. Unlike, because he's here, I got so much tea for Christmas, and it's all the crap I don't like. The tea tin that I gave you of Diana.
Yes.
Wait, let me just hold that.
Like which?
Let me show you.
Yeah, as you say, it's not like it says a brand name.
No, it's called New English Teas.
Oh, there it is on the back. New English Teas. Got
New English Teas. Okay, so this is from my brother. We don't usually exchange gifts, but look what he gave me.
Oh,
I knew you'd like that one.
Yeah, that's sweet.
It came with 72 bags of tea that I don't like. English breakfast, afternoon, and Earl Grey. Now, I gave it to Emma and Emma said, double it up, honey. And it's not that bad. She said, I thought it was really quite good. She says, but when you make tea, you make one for yourself and you put one in for the pot. If you're
Right.
making tea for two.
Which is what I've always heard, but it's never made sense to me.
It's a lot. Well, and I guess with her Tetley, you don't have to because it's pretty strong.
It's strong.
So
Yeah.
this is one. This that my son gave me. This that my son gave me. This is also English Tea Shop.
Huh? Yeah, yeah.
This now, if you walked into World Market,
Oh,
they're the prettiest. Little
oh,
things.
that's so
They're
cute.
adorable.
Yeah, yeah. They have pretty packaging.
They really do. So there was a tin, Amy. It was this big, like huge.
Yeah.
And I'm shopping with my husband, and I said, "Gorgeous tin, prettiest tea tin ever.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't like the tea. Don't buy it from me." It was like 500-600 bags of tea, something like
Oh,
that.
no.
And he goes, "Okay, pretty tin, don't buy." I said, "Exactly." I thank God.
Is that, yeah, yeah. I was like, so that was from him?
The 3 little ones.
Yeah, yeah.
Afternoon, breakfast, Earl Grey. And I opened it up and it's like.
So that's really funny because I feel like by now everyone has somehow gotten the memo. Don't give me tea. That's one thing I don't need. If you're gonna give me any kind of tea accessory, teacup, teapots, bring it on. Like bring on the china.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
But the tea itself, I do not need. Like, and it's like for our Secret Santa and BNI, we have like a form we can fill out, or that we all fill out online, and one of it says like what not to give me, and I always put tea. Don't do it.
Oh my gosh. So I told, and some people were giving, somebody gave me tea from Ireland, and it's just Barry's tea. It was Barry's Earl Grey. I'm not a huge fan of Earl Grey tea anymore. And I had that, and I had this tea and that tea, and a lot of the stuff, again, stuff that people, they go to World Market and they're like, "Oh, Nancy would love this."
Yes,
And
yeah,
they
yeah.
make it for me. And I finally got my tea pantry down to exactly what I wanted. And then for
To that Christmas.
I have been giving away bags of tea
Oh my
to
God.
and whispering.
I love it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I've been giving away tea left and right.
Oh my
Trying to
goodness.
get my pantry back to where I want, because when it sits there, I'm like, well, I'm not going to spend money on something when I already have.
Right, right.
But it's not what it isn't what I want. So
Right. So
Anyway.
I realized, well, on that note though, I will just say I happily received gifts of tea from Harrods. This is my exception.
I would make that exception. Absolutely.
If it, yeah,
Yes.
if it's
And if you
super
have any
fancy tea,
particular-
like if it's like fancier tea than the stuff that I have, like then okay.
If it comes from a place 2 blocks from the, from the palace.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. Yeah, yeah.
Good.
So that's the one exception rule.
I completely understand. Are you on number 3 yet?
Nope, sorry, I'm still drinking number 2, but I
Okay,
will
that's fine.
bring number 3 over here. Sugar it. Oh
It
yeah,
reminds me of something, and I'm trying to think of,
time for mint.
I want to say it's something medicinal.
And
I
it's like,
don't
is
know.
it just that everyone's always drinking like peppermint tea for their stomachs?
Something like that. Yeah, I don't know. There's something.
That's what I know it
Oh
for.
my gosh, I know what it is.
Uh-oh. Hold on, wait, let me taste it first. Is it gonna be something I know?
Banaka breath spray.
Oh yeah. That's funny.
It smells like, no wonder it took me back to my childhood.
That's really funny. Yeah, but then I got something else out of it. Shoot, what was it? It was like I smelled, yeah, I got the Banaka breath spray. There's something from Chicago. Something from my lifetime in Chicago.
Right.
This is triggering. Which I worked for a tea company, Argo Tea, and got tea all the time. There is a drink there, and I can't, now I'm like, what was the drink? It had this sort of flavor in it, but there was more happening. So it probably was like, maybe they'd steamed it with milk or something. What was it?
Wonder. Okay, so I take back, it does say there's cocoa extract, natural vanilla flavor, organic blackberry leaves.
Oh,
Where
okay.
does that fit in with peppermint bark? In organic monk fruit. So it's very
Hmm.
interesting. And as I'm looking at the ingredients on these, on the back of each package, did you notice like this one came with a little poem?
Oh, no, I did not see
Yeah.
that.
It's like,
That's cute.
feed me a cup for a winter's night, for the wind howls loud and the furies fight. Spice it with love and stir with care, and I'll toast our bright eyes, my sweetheart fair.
Nice. That's cute.
Yeah, the other one
Minna.
was
Minna Thomas. The name Minna. I've not heard the name Minna before.
I haven't either. Contentment of thought, goodness and grace, harmony, water, tea. To those who have discovered the path, share the cup. Oh, I do like that one. And that is from the Minister of Leaves. I don't know who the Minister of
There's
Leaves
the Minister of Leaves.
You know, this reminds me a little bit of Celestial Seasonings, because they would have some sort of frou something on their
Oh, they
box.
do?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. And then, of course, comfort and joy is at this moment somewhere the kettle calls, somewhere the pot waits, somewhere a person smiles into a cup watching the leaves unfurl, from the Minister of Leaves.
Another one from the Minister of Leaves.
I love that. I have to look up Minister
I
of
want
Leaves.
I want that title. Just
I want Mistress of the Teacups.
right? Yes, that's hilarious. Well, so yeah. So speaking of, I have my promotional shirt on, like the promotional company, but Dave that I work with, he embroidered it Lady Amy.
Oh, how nice.
Here I've got a
Nice.
sweatshirt jacket. This is Lady
Very
Amy.
cool.
Um,
So what do you think? Number 3 here.
I like it because it's not as minty as I was expecting. I expect usually the mint's like pretty smacks you in the face.
True. The peppermint and so there's spearmint and there's peppermint. I feel like this one leans
Okay.
more towards spearmint than it does peppermint.
You're right. That is what, yeah. And it is, I guess, it's a green tea, green rooibos. So that's like
Mhm.
something I've not experienced before.
Right.
So like, but yeah, I like it. What do you think? Since you do not love mint in your tea, what do you think? Got it. So just,
It's
yeah,
great.
it's great. It just ranks, yeah. Just the other two beat it.
Of the 3, the cinnamon vanilla to me is more soothing for a
Okay.
winter tea, for something just calming.
Mm-hmm.
Wrap my fingers around a mug to keep my hands warm. That would be this would be my go-to.
Now I'm like tasting them.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree.
But I do like the comfort and joy because like I said, that orange was surprising.
Right. It is. Yeah, it's good. It's a nice, like, flavorful cup. But you're right. As far as like thinking of like being cozy with it,
Yeah.
like, that I agree. The cinnamon vanilla one.
So,
Yeah.
I put 1 cube of sugar in each, and each one was progressively sweeter, which is really interesting. Like this one was like super sweet, and it had the
Really?
same amount of sugar as this one. This one didn't pick. I don't know.
Oh, well, that's interesting because I would say my sugar is like by the spoonfuls and it's not measured well. So I don't know how much I put in each one.
Well, I want to show you 2 more things real quick, and then we want to get on to. So I don't. Have you ever had German stroopwafels?
I've had something like that before. I don't know if I've had that exact one.
They are delicious. I love these things. There's a great texture.
It's almost like a waffle cone type waffle.
It is like a waffle cone, but there's a chewy texture to it
Yes.
also. And I love this. I hadn't noticed. I'm gonna put this really close. He says,
Yeah.
warm it on your teacup.
Oh, neat.
So
I like
I haven't had it yet because I'm like, that would be a really great little photo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then Jose also found me, I'm pretty sure he found this at World Market. I had never seen this before. Leith chocolate, Earl Grey tea chocolate.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So if I find one, I will grab it and send one to you.
Yeah. So then we can try it. Yeah.
I'm so curious about this. Yeah, it is Leith Scotland. So, yeah, just
Interesting.
so I will have to let you know about that one too.
Yeah.
And I have 2 round and 1 kind of square. So when I'm finished with them,
Okay.
I will.
I'll go to the collection.
Yeah, I will send you one because they really are lovely. It's a beautiful
Yeah.
pretty little things. So,
That's awesome. Well,
all right.
thank you for the delicious teas.
You're
Now-
very welcome. Always
Yes.
love to share with a friend.
Yes. And okay, so we have not talked since before the holidays, right? And what
Right.
happened that it's like, oh, well, Harry and Meghan's docuseries came out, and then Harry was on Colbert's show like 2 weeks ago, and it was,
Right.
and I don't know what else he's been up to.
Anderson Cooper.
Oh,
His
he's on
book
that.
is
Okay.
out.
Then.
Yes. Yeah.
He's on the press runs or whatever because he's promoting his new book, which I've decided I'm gonna have to make myself read because I don't want to just hear like what people say about it or like what little snippets I hear about it, especially once I watched him on the Colbert show. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna need to read it because everything's gonna be taken out of context. Like I need to hear the full story, even if it's 400 pages or however long.
Right.
So initial thoughts from you. Did you watch the docuseries like all right away or?
I kind of did, yeah. And I found myself with a bit of a changed opinion.
I wondered if it would do that for you.
Not in, okay, so let me say that I do genuinely believe these two are just amazed by each other. I think there is a true love bond between them. It makes me happy for Harry. I love the last clip, the last 10 seconds of the last episode goes back to what I was saying before, if he has found happiness instead of being, in stodgy England and, cold, damp castles and things like that, and he's happy where he is, then, more power to him. Right. He said that he was driving through, you could see him driving through wherever it was, Montecito or whatever, and he was saying, home sweet home. And I'm happy for him. And, and it does, because there is a genuine friendship and love between them, it softens my opinion of her. Okay. The other thing that softens my opinion of her and of them is the vitriol and the fake press, the things that were drummed up. I do believe that they do have a perspective, and I do believe there are entities out there that absolutely refuse to give them a break, refuse to report the truth, and will absolutely spin the negative when it comes to her or them as much as absolutely possible. Now, whether or not it is a directive from the palace, I do wonder if some of it is. Right. I do wonder if some of it isn't inherent bigotry and racism that people possibly working in for or around the palace would like to keep things pure
in their communications offices. Yeah.
On an incredibly minor note, I am not comparing this at all to the level of what they've had or anything else. But when Jose was over the base, when he was in charge of the base, and I've shown you the picture where Jackie got to sit next to Melania Trump. Oh yeah. And then Jackie cried when she left, and we're like, why are you crying? And Jackie says, I want to go home and play with Mrs. Trump. Somebody from the press came over, a couple people did. Yeah. And they were asking questions. And so Jose and I, of course, that night we're scouring, where's Jackie? Where's Jackie? Want to read about Jackie? Yeah. And not a single news story got every fact right. And to small little things like why Jackie was crying, to the picture that Jackie was holding was not the picture that she was coloring with Melania Trump. It was a picture that Jackie colored by herself. They got the name of the base wrong. They got the type of base wrong. They said it was an Army base when it was Air Force Navy. Right. They gave my husband the wrong rank. And they also assigned the wrong military to him. They said that he was Air Force when he was. Oh my goodness. So it did not matter to them what the truth was. Right. It was, I'm going to sell a story. I'm getting paid to do this. I'm putting it out there. Nobody's going to know. Right. Nobody really cares. They're going to read what they read. And yes, they made it feel good stories. Yes, whatever. But, fake news happens both ways, whether it's the feel good story like Jackie or something negative like this. And I have to say, since then, I've really kind of turned off the news as well, because it is really hard to process anything as truth anymore, because
Right, yeah.
everything has a slant.
Because even if there's like a bit of truth in it, right? It's like, well, how many things related to it did they get wrong? Like, for example, your story, right? Like with Jackie. I'm like, so what's funny is the history, a funny history podcast they listen to. They always do like different weird stories in his American history usually, but they started doing one thing now where it's sort of like a second podcast, but it's where one of the guys picks an old newspaper from some random time, and like he has previewed it, like he picks out what one he thinks will be like really entertaining, and then his friend, he's like basically reading it and sharing it with his friend, and they're just like, oh my god, that's crazy. So what's interesting is and this happens in the history too, when like they're reading newspapers and they're trying like about whatever historical thing it is that they're talking about. So the whole, fake news thing, yeah, there's been different variations of it, but they had one where it was talking about basically a guy that like made a whole like stunt out of like going into the wilderness like naked. This is like in the 70s or something. So way before the show Naked and Afraid, but essentially it was that, but just reported through the newspapers.
Okay.
And so, but at one point, like towards the end, he like came out of the woods, and I guess apparently now, according to them, right, according to the story, they're like, and he, by this point, he had created clothes out of like leaves and deer skins and whatever. But he, after not having any human contact for 2 months, he comes out, and there's like happens upon like a 14-year-old girl who's like out on trails or whatever, and like kind of surprises her. And then they say like a quote from like, and that 14-year-old girl at first was like, what'd they say? That she was like, oh my goodness. And then she noticed like what he was wearing and like what he looked like, and thought, that is a man. That is a real man. Like, because the whole point of this was to like show that we weren't too far, like that we weren't getting too soft as a society.
Okay.
Like we could still be like wilderness people and like still tough or whatever. And so they're like, there's no way that this 14-year-old girl, this like crazy man, comes out of the woods towards her, and that she's like, yeah, that's a real man right there. You'd be like, oh my god, like run.
Yeah, seriously.
And then the guy pointed out, who's reading the newspaper, he goes, I don't think there ever was a 14-year-old girl.
Thank you. Well, and how many times have I texted you and sent you, a stupid headline? And one of them was when the docuseries, when they released the first 3 or something like that.
Okay.
And the headline in the article was, Meghan thought it was a joke that she had to curtsy to the Queen.
Yes.
And that was so twisted. And in her defense, it was that she did not know she was going to meet the Queen that day. She had on blue jeans, and they were near Windsor, and Harry saw the flag up. He goes, oh, my grandma's here. Are you ready to meet her? And do you know how to curtsy? Right. And she's like, are you kidding? Is this a joke?
Right.
Was it a joke that she was going to meet the Queen that day? She wasn't prepared. It wasn't, I have to curtsy. That's a joke. It wasn't, but that's how they twisted it, that she was snubbing the, protocol and the Queen and stuff like that. And there are so many things like that. And now it's like, I'm looking for it more, or more bluntly, I'm not looking for it anymore. I'm just not looking for it anymore. It's like, there is a truth out there. And I think you and I've said this before too. There are 3 sides of the truth. There's his side, her side, and the truth.
And what actually happened. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so I believe, I hate the phrase my truth. This is my truth.
Right. Yeah. But still.
This is my version of what I felt. This is how I felt, and how I think events went down are based on that emotion that I was feeling at the time.
Right.
I'm sure William has some things to say. I'm sure Charles has some things to say.
Right.
I wish they would all just sit down, doggone it, and just,
I know,
because families have issues, and brothers have pushed brothers before.
Right.
But I do still argue, I wish Harry would stop doing this, because at this point he's capitalizing off of the grievances with the family. And that's where, yes, I understand he wants people to know how bad the press has been to them. I get that. But I think some of that could have been done. I don't know.
Well, I understand that. I feel like, yeah, with the docuseries, I don't think they made the royal family members especially look bad. Like, I think the stuff that's coming out in the book is like a little harsher, probably. Like, because the docuseries was sort of like, this is what we couldn't tell you was going on, right? Like, this is what was happening. Like, basically, we're being gaslit like everywhere.
Right,
So,
right.
So, so it's like, so with the docuseries, I get that it was like, yeah, let's just get it out there and let's tell our side of it.
Mhm.
But now he is doing almost like memoir style of like, let me tell all of my truth for everything since the beginning. And I personally don't have a problem with that. I understand why people don't want it, but it's like, Diana's done this crap. Charles has done this crap. Like, whatever. It's the next generation. Like, and it was a big thing then too. So it gets to be a big thing now. But
Right.
the only difference is that Harry left. So like now he really is free to do and say whatever he wants and like not, have to answer for it to the institution.
Right. Well, and one of his, and I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you off. Give you a chance to say your thing.
Mhm.
Oh,
Go ahead. Yeah.
He said that he and his brother in younger years they had seen how the press offices worked against each other. It's like, we're going to feed you this to make us look better over here.
Right.
And he said that he and Wills had said, we're not going to do that to each other when we get older. But Harry's saying that is what's happening. I do believe that, Kate is as pure as the driven snow. There is nothing that woman does that's wrong. And I'm a big fan of hers.
I
but
know, right.
Nobody's that good.
Yeah.
But that's how, when you want to convey good and bad personalities in a movie, one of them has to be really good, and how you promote that good is that this one has to be really bad.
Right.
And I feel like, I do believe that's where Meghan has been a victim of this.
Right.
That Harry and Meghan, and Harry too, Harry cannot be thought of as better than, or more popular than, or more lovable, likable, or capable than his brother.
Right.
And so they're gonna tear down. The thing that I have, if this is supposed to be, if the intent of the book was to share your truth of why you left,
right?
Do we all really have to know that you lost your virginity to some big star who treated
I haven't heard that yet, so that's hilarious.
Who treated him like a stallion? What purpose does it serve to tell everybody this, other than to go, I'm a big guy,
Yeah.
So
it's to me, it's like, it's kind of like all the things that, I don't know, we'll say I'm just using that term loosely, all the things that we like wonder or think about the royal family. It's like he finally gets to say like what's like what's really been going on all those years.
Yeah, but it's still
kind of just like it's about a story, right? Like, if that's an entertaining story and they know people are gonna like it, like whatever.
I suppose, but to me, that's where you commercialize. To me, that's where this is just so I can make some more money, make this more interesting. Right. This isn't about you telling your side of the truth.
Right.
That's completely sensational and superfluous to the story. So it's funny because here I am thinking the only person I have to talk to about this stuff is you. But I walked into the teachers' lounge, and one of the teachers, and she goes, "Did you read Harry's book yet?"
Yeah, right. I know. It's like, I have plenty of people that are not my normal people I talk to that,
and they're like, I really kind of liked her, but now I don't like her that much. And I'm like, oh, really? Because I said, that's sorry for them. Yeah. And they're like, we didn't need to know that part about him losing his virginity. And I'm like, I agree with you on that one.
But that's not Meghan's fault. It's not.
No, that isn't. That is
So like, that's him.
well, and let's touch on that point too.
Yeah.
And he had a really good point too, when he said, when something goes bad or goes, it's always the woman's fault.
Yep.
And yeah, and I can
That's
see
been, yeah, that's
whole
been
thing.
one of my
Megan
things.
didn't force him to leave. He wanted to leave too,
Yeah. Well, so okay, so there's a few things. So the whole like them wanting to share, we'll say the communications team from being young, right? Because they're like, we saw this, we don't want to be this way.
Right.
And then like as stuff started coming out against Megan after they were married, he realized, oh, we better get our own communications team because clearly they have to like favor the heir, right? So that's one thing. But here's what's interesting. So I bring this up with Trevor at tea time, and he pointed out, he goes, well, that's like the immature thinking of young men or boys or whatever. It's an idyllic thing of like, we'll never do that. He's like, but in all reality, he goes, they were gonna have different paths anyway. Like he said, it didn't make sense for them to try and share a team anyway. And I was like, and especially when they get married, like when Kate came in and like now there's 3 people they're trying to do press for, and now Megan, now it's 4 people. Like you can't, that's like a conflict of interest, right?
True.
So I thought that was a fair point where he's like, yeah, that was never like a reasonable, realistic thing anyway. And then like not to their fault, like it's like great that that's what you were hoping to do. It just, you realized in reality that's not gonna work very well. Yeah. So but with what I liked in the docuseries was that Harry, like kind of how you said, like Harry was saying like the woman always gets blamed first. So what I really liked was when Harry talked about basically when he was holding himself accountable for his behavior when she was suffering. So I liked that he said that when she was like at her lowest, basically, he said, I was not the husband she needed me to be. He said, I have it so ingrained in me that Institution Harry came out, and Institution Harry was treating the situation more so like, if we don't go to this, everybody's going to think such and such, trying to get her to go do something instead of being the husband that actually cared for what she was going through. And so I just really like that. I love their self-awareness and their reflection and like all of that. Whereas because instead of like just constantly blaming the other side, Harry is saying, yeah, I kind of sucked too. Like it makes sense that it would be easy for him to flip a switch like accidentally, right? Like it is right. But so I really liked that part of it. But the relationship with William and Harry pre-Megan, right? So I guess in the book and on Colbert, this is where I get this information from. He and Colbert are talking about how William and Harry were never particularly close. And so Colbert was saying like, well, of course, for us outsiders, right? Like we all think these poor 2 boys have just gone through a tragic loss. They're the only ones who know what each other's going through. Surely this has bonded them for life. And Harry said, yeah, because that's what the narrative was. Like, you guys felt that's what was being put out there. And he said, that's not the case. They kind of were just in their own little islands. And like, so Colbert talked about how he had lost some important people when he was actually younger than Harry, so they could bond over that. And what was interesting, because I don't have this, like I didn't have that as a child, but they said, like Colbert was like, did you ever pretend like she wasn't really gone? And Harry's like, absolutely. He goes, I did. He's like, for the longest time, his coping mechanism was that she's not dead. She's off hiding, trying to figure things out. And when she gets it sorted out, she's gonna come take him and Will away. And that like made me want to cry when he said like, yeah, that she's gonna come back for us. Like it's one thing to think like, oh, they're living off on an island, like it's fine, guys. Like to be feeling like she'll come back and rescue us, like this isn't real. And so Colbert was saying, yeah, like he had a similar kind of thing. He didn't say which family member it was, but so I found that very interesting. And that again, well, so then I bring this up at tea time, right? And so Trevor, I feel like ever the, I don't know, logical British person.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
he again is like, of course, they weren't like super close or whatever. He goes, they had enough years in between them. They were never going to be in the same school. They have boarding style schools. Like they're not around each other, like the way that we think of families being around each
Yeah,
other.
true.
And
Wow.
he's like, you're looking at this not just through American eyes, but we'll just say like through average family eyes. Cause he was saying like, in Brazil or wherever, like, yeah, everybody's in the same house, unless there's a boarding school involved. And so I was like, oh, you're right. Like that would, yeah, that makes sense, right? So like, of course they need the narrative to be that these boys are close, but really they like what are around each other for holidays or something, and like there's other people around too. I'm sure they were like brotherly enough, but it's not like they clung to each other because of what happened, which is what
Right.
everyone wanted to be true and what we felt was true. And so, but then it sounded like then once, and then they were like in their own military careers, so like when they come out and they start doing like their royal tours and walkabouts and whatever,
Mhm.
it sounds like yeah, like they're just really good at like keeping up the narrative. Like they,
I think there is a bigger machine there than a lot of people want to believe. I think there,
yeah,
and that's why I said I think that there's a purist angle from some of this, as well as, and this I have no doubt about, they have to make sure if they want the monarchy to survive,
yeah,
then Will and Catherine have to be absolutely squeaky clean, and they have to be the most popular.
yeah,
Otherwise, this is gonna end with Charles, because Charles is not favored,
right,
um,
right,
and things like that. So, yeah, I think that's it. It's funny because the whole boarding school, I love Trevor's perspective, because he's
right. I know, I know. I'm always
amazing.
like, oh, I didn't think about that. Like,
Thumbs up, Trevor.
I know.
Um, I remember reading this article, and again, now I take everything with a grain of salt. But how Harry felt abandoned. I don't know if he really felt abandoned. This was long before I read this. When did I read this? This was shortly after they got married. So it was long before all this nasty press
Sure.
started coming out about them, about Megxit and everything else.
Right.
About how Harry felt abandoned, and left to his own devices because Will was off doing his own thing. Well, now it makes sense. If that were true, then that makes sense, because Will was off doing his own thing.
Right, right.
Trevor said they probably they weren't in school together, et cetera, et cetera. So, so
And-
interesting perspectives. Yeah, I have not seen the Colbert interview. I didn't even see the Anderson Cooper interview.
I didn't even know there was one. So
Yeah, again, and we're hearing one side.
sure.
And we will probably not hear the other side, because I think Will and Kate are going to stay true to
They can't, yeah.
to what's, to the machine.
Because even if they could, like, become a little bit more transparent or like whatever, forthcoming, like within the machine, they're never going to be able to come down to this level. So like,
No,
whatever they
no.
say, it won't be like enough to share the real side of their real side of things,
Right.
So and I told Trevor, so another thing that was interesting about the docuseries was how Meghan was talking about how yes, she's mixed, she's black, and her mom's black and her dad is white, but that she was so like fair skinned that like people didn't know it, so she'd never actually, like she said, like it seems naive or whatever, like she didn't experience direct racism growing up. The only time she did was when like she saw something with like someone yelling at her mom in a car, and like that was kind of like, we don't talk about that. So for that, so she like wasn't expecting, I guess, that level of it to come out, because she's never even experienced that before. But what I also liked was, so I myself didn't follow real closely them as a couple, or even like leading up to the wedding and whatever, like I know what's happening, but I'm like, whatever, it's all about William and Kate, right? So but so what I appreciated was them kind of running back through things, the timeline, and like for the most part, everyone's still on board with them until like a few months after they're married, and they start being real popular on their touring, their royal duties.
Yeah, I'd heard about
And
that.
that makes sense to me, because it's kind of like Diana had the same problem. Like, she was too popular for the heir, and that's not cool.
Right.
So we're gonna have to knock you down because we can't raise them up any further, like you said,
Right,
like in a
right.
movie or whatever. It's like,
Right.
it's kind of like, this isn't personal, but like, you just happen to be too likable, and that's a problem for us now.
Yeah,
So we're gonna have to
exactly.
correct it
Yes.
in a negative way.
And let's add that when Will and Kate went to, where did they go recently? Was it the Bahamas? Jamaica?
Maybe? Yeah,
One of
something
those.
like that.
And they were getting booed. And when they met with some higher officials of the country, it was brought up that, you know, we want our country back. We you know, and it's that whole anti-colonialism thing that, you know, it's kind of like, well, why are the British still leading a country like that? You know, they're not down there, they're not anywhere near there. Let them govern themselves.
Right. And they should have utilized Meghan. They're right, like Harry and Meghan.
They
Right.
could have.
I mean,
If they wanted, yeah.
When they had like the different people of color, like British ones, like speaking on their docuseries about like, you know, what it meant to them all of a sudden. So it's like, even though Meghan's not real aware of it at first, right? Like that has that impact necessarily. Everyone else is like, oh my God, like she's like, looks like us, and we're in the Commonwealth. It's not just like the white royal family like leading over our country. It's like they're letting us in, right? Like that was the symbolism.
Yes.
So then for them to force her out, like bad symbolism.
Bad symbolism, yeah. And it could have worked in their favor a little bit more. It could have made it look like they really were embracing something new. And yeah, I think they missed the opportunity. But B, I do wonder, you know, where that will go for countries like the Bahamas and Jamaica and stuff like that are still British ruled, Meghan or otherwise. I think the ideology has changed. And you know, people are like, these people are so far over there and they don't look anything like us, and they don't act like anything like us, and they don't know anything really about our culture.
Yeah, they don't know about
spend 3 days with us and have a couple of photo ops, you know.
Right.
So I'm not trying to bring down the monarchy, because you know I'm a fan.
Sure.
But I can, you know, I appreciate. Yeah.
It's not necessarily bringing down the monarchy, it's just bringing down, it's like bringing down the Commonwealth. Like, I mean, that's what it is, because oh gosh, what was it? I read something, I think, or I don't know where I heard it, but it was, they were maybe it was even in the series where they were pointing out that like who was it that renamed it like the Commonwealth, like instead of the British Empire?
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Basically, they said all that was like oh gosh, like PR. Like it wasn't like anything changed. They're like,
branding.
We don't rule you. We're not an empire. We're a family, and we're now called the Commonwealth. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, that that checks out. I hadn't thought about it that way.
A rose by any other name. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and then like, what was it? One of the countries or someone or one that was in the Commonwealth that like Prince Charles, I believe, was there as they were basically claiming it back. Like he was there for the ceremony. And I'm like, how bizarre would that have? That's just gonna be so bizarre to like to be there for that, when it's like,
yes,
I don't know. I also feel like that's nice, like that's cool that he was there, right? Like in support of it or whatever. But it's also kind of like, oh well, this is kind of awkward, isn't it? Like,
well, you know, the whole struggle with Wales and the conflict with Wales. A lot of the Welsh do not want, they don't believe that Prince Charles is their prince, the Prince of Wales, because they did not.
Right.
You know, I'm sure there's a bit of a split, you know, there probably, you know, some royalists out there and monarchists and who, you know, love the idea of it, there are other people who really do not. And so when the titles of Prince and Princess of Wales was passed on to the Cambridges,
Right.
some of those people were like, no, when is this going to end?
Right.
When is
Right.
it gonna end? You
Which-
took this from us. And
Right.
one of the series now, in The Crown, and again, so much of that hearsay,
Sure.
you know, there's not, I don't know how much, there's only a small element of truth, and
Right.
they took, you know, real life events and hearsay, and they made it into a really good and entertaining series on Netflix. But the one where Prince Charles pre-marriage goes for his investiture at Castle Carnarvon and in
Oh, yes, because he learns
And-
Welsh.
yeah, and he's hooked up with that Welsh teacher, the Welsh teacher, to teach him Welsh, and
Right.
and he's, you know, and he tells him why. He's because you guys took our water to give to your country, you robbed us, you know, and then you know, gave yourselves titles over us and things like that. And I was like, ouch, is that
I know,
true?
yeah, it's
You
like,
know?
yeah, I know, it's like, as royalists, we're like, don't make too much sense now.
Yeah, exactly. Look how pretty Kate looks.
Yeah, right? Yeah, yeah, I'm like,
Kate.
it's so great.
But you and I are, more so you than myself. Jose and I kind of a little more I'm not saying that you're not pragmatic. You are growing up in a school system that is teaching you the evils of colonialism, or at least your kids, your generation is more
Yeah,
pronounced.
right.
Where now you were growing up, it was, you know, all patriotism and everything else.
Yeah.
But was colonial. So I'm not going to say it wasn't evil, but that's just what they did. You know, I'm not saying it was this right, but you know, okay, so we're not doing it anymore. Let's not do that anymore. Maybe we do need to give countries back, but but there is some of that. I see that, you know, in some of the thinking and some of the stories and the negativity that's out there too.
I feel like the only thing that they can keep within the Commonwealth is Canada. Like Canada's probably the only one that doesn't care and likes it.
Like, True, and Canada's still
because
Canada,
they've got
French,
also,
you know, French Canadians and Quebec and stuff like that too.
Right. That's true. So, but yeah, so you will need to watch the Colbert clip because it's almost like a 40-minute interview. It's really good, and a lot of it is serious, but they have a lot of good like banter back and forth or whatever. And like, but they do bring up a story. And Colbert refers to it as the royal standard getting frost nip. So
yes.
Have you heard about this?
I have heard about this. Yes.
It's hilarious, and it's really funny to watch those two talk about it. And Harry uses a term in it that like they have to bleep out part of it, and Colbert's like, he was like dying, like really broke up, and he was like, if someone would have told me when I was young that like like the Duke of Duke of Sussex was going to say the word blank sock.
Whatever it was, yeah.
Like, or no, blank cushion or whatever. He's like, I never would have believed it. So like, I enjoy those kinds of things because I'm like, again, he doesn't have to be tight-lipped anymore.
No, he doesn't.
And stories like that, they don't hurt any royal family members other than them maybe just being like, I can't believe you told that story about yourself.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think it's because he's not bound to that I think that's why the powers that be are so ticked off.
Yeah.
And I'm talking beyond Charles, I'm talking about beyond the crown, I'm talking about the institution, the machine, whatever you want to call it. And I think because he's not following protocol anymore, and he is one of them, and they wanted to keep
and he's
him
like
in.
a traitor.
Yeah, that's how it feels to them. So
yeah, and I see, that makes sense, why they would be so threatened and freaked out by it. One thing that Trevor and I were talking about, because Trevor's always been leaning towards like, well, they want to be like they keep themselves within the eye of the media. So then what happens kind of deal, right? And and like sort of like they shouldn't be getting upset about it. And so a few things out of that like we've discussed, I said when Tyler Perry was on the docuseries and was talking about how he's like, I live in an area, there are like high up celebrities all over. None of us have ever seen anything like that. The
Right.
paparazzi, right? He's like, we
Exactly.
had to
Yeah.
put up
Mhm.
special fences. Like they're doing like construction on his house because it's never been that intense before. So
Right.
there's that. And then also I pointed out to Trevor the other day, I was like, okay, so let's just think about the average person, right? Average person was like, when they know that someone doesn't like them, a lot of times that really gets to them, right? It's like, you know that someone doesn't like you and it bothers you, or maybe multiple people don't like you. And like that really eats at you. I go, imagine the like entire world seeing these crazy things written about you and like hating you and then basically telling you like you should no longer live. And like could you imagine that? I'm like, she's still a regular human where like it's gonna hurt if somebody doesn't like you. And like
Right.
the fact that she said, when she was in the beginning, she's like, well, at least they don't believe it. And then that woman like in their walkabout was like, how could you do that to your father? Like,
Yes.
and she's like, oh no, they do believe it. Like, yeah, the father stuff is heartbreaking too, that
It's heartbreaking, but weird, right? I mean, because what's the answer to the whole, they said, they were texting him and they got that text back, well, I'm sorry, Megan, if my, heart attack got in the way or whatever. And he's like, and he's responding to her, calling her Megan. She's like, he's never called me Megan in my whole life.
no.
Ever.
I feel like that has to be the sister. That has to be the half sister that like ruins everything anyway, right? Like
I wonder. I thought it was heartbreaking. Was it her half cousin? Is that who it was?
yeah. That's like, yeah.
They didn't invite her to the wedding.
Her niece. It's like her niece.
That's
or whatever.
what it was.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
she couldn't. Yeah, because of that mom. The
Yes.
crazy, like saying
Yes.
she ruins
So, and
everything.
you could tell she was heartbroken over that.
Yeah.
That was really sad.
Right. And that Megan, talks about that she's like, I was like lonely as a kid. Like, yeah, everything was great, but like I would have loved to have had a sister, but I did not live in a house with her. Like she wasn't my
Yeah.
sister. She's
Yeah.
claiming that she knows me. We've like barely seen each other in life.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
I would have loved to have had you as a sister. Great.
Right.
But you're just flat out lying.
Yes.
All of it.
Right. So, it does, when we sit here and we talk about fake news and this truth and that truth or whatever, I'm not calling in either one of them. I'm not calling them liars, but I'm just saying sometimes maybe memories or things that we do want to come. This is their documentary.
Oh,
They
yeah.
do want to look good. So I do wonder just how much, if there are tiny elements of stretched truth or something slightly altered,
Right.
But I did think it was very strange that her dad never responded. And then when he did, it almost, I was like, my question was like, did the press get a hold of his phone? Were they, were they monitoring? How was he not, why wasn't he responding?
Mhm.
So yeah, that was very sad. The threats that they said, not responding to me, that the horrible about how they hope she dies and that her children die.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Oh, Lord. I mean, when you hear things like that, it's kind of like, totally get why they left. Totally get why they want out. Totally get why they, feel that they need protection and stuff like that.
Right,
I mean,
right.
and it's just horrible to think that there are still people out there that just can't bear to look at a woman just because she might be black or half black. What is wrong with you?
Right.
It's just I don't know. It's just
Right,
it's
right.
sick. Just really, there's a sickness out there.
And I'll say for myself, like when it was all happening, when everyone was like media and people in my world or whatever were like bringing it up about how it was a big deal that she's a woman of color, I'm like, I kept being dismissive of it because I'm like, that's not the story here. She's a divorced American.
Yes. I
was like, does that ring a bell? Like, yeah, he's not the heir. Like, that's really the only difference. But I'm like, a divorced American is allowed to marry into the family. That's the, like, to me, that was the story, right? But that's also like, I realized like being dismissive of it, but it was because I was trying to make it like that doesn't have to be the thing. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
but
Ah,
anyway.
I am
So
looking
how are
at
you doing on time?
time. Yeah, unfortunately, I was gonna try to see if I could get my son to pick, but he's, oh wait, hold on a second. Yes, I can, if that's what you're trying to say. Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's what you're trying to say.
Trying to see if you did. So I did a Girl Scout tea. I'm sorry, 1 second. Yes. Oh, well, see, that's because you turned into I and I fat thumbed something. Sorry. Do you mind running up together? There's construction going on up there, so yeah, navigate your way. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
did a Girl Scout tea for 25 that I texted you about that I got the
Yes,
wrong
yes.
day. God help me. I forgot 4 things in one weekend. I forgot it at my son's dental appointment. I forgot to call my niece for her birthday.
Mhm.
When I did call her, I called the wrong niece. Their sisters adopted, their birthdays are 8 days apart, and I called
That's
the wrong
awesome.
one. It was
Yeah.
it was just bad 4 days, really
Yeah,
bad
yeah.
4 days. Anyway, Simple Tea, all I did was I make scones, and I was using that Sticky Fingers brand.
Yeah,
I'm not
I
doing
like
my
those a lot. Yeah. I know
they
they're
are very good. They
traditional,
ride
but
with,
they're delicious. Yeah.
they are really quite good. I do tell people these are American scones. These are not
Yeah.
traditional
Right.
English scones. But I wasn't about to make 40 scones for these girls who tend not to eat them.
That's what I say. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I didn't special order teas or anything. But so anyway, so I go and set up the tea. It's the cutest thing. I did take some nice teacups, and they're all sitting out there. And as I'm preparing my talk, so this tea is to help Girl Scouts earn their a social butterfly badge. There is also a hostess badge that they could earn from it
Oh
as
my
well.
gosh.
So I had my talking points for why etiquette is still important. She wanted to make sure that I showed them proper place setting. And at the end, there was a little thing about tea etiquette. And of course, you know, the big pet peeve is
Yes.
this or this.
Pinkies down.
Down, people, they are down. So before I even began my spiel, there was a little girl off to the side, and she had been to England recently. She had this cute little brimmed pink hat, little straw hat and stuff like that. And I hear her talking to the girls, and she's holding up her teacup, and she goes, now listen, she says, you're not supposed to put your pinky up. That is what you're not supposed to do.
Oh my God.
She says, I know that everybody thinks you're supposed to do that, but you're supposed to hold it down. She said, in fact, you're supposed to. Now she said, somebody told her she's supposed to hold it like this. And I think that's just gauche. I think to me,
I don't think that's
as ugly as putting it up.
Yeah, it was like that. Yeah, it was like, I guess that's helpful kind of, but
yes, but yeah. But I always explain to people, so holding it, these tiny little cups, it's not like a big mug where you can loop 3 fingers into it and get a good grip. So sometimes people are holding it and going, where do I put that extra couple of fingers? You tuck them in, and that's how you hold the cup. But I was so proud. I just was like, yes. I went over and I tapped her on the back, and I just said, I'm so proud of you. I said, help me spread the word. And
right. Yeah. Especially while they're all young.
Yes. Spread the word while you're young. Absolutely. Condition them now. So anyway, it was cute. It was a nice little talk. I had a good time with it. It was glad when it was over 25 kids. But
and what ages?
What's that?
What age range is that?
So they're about 8 years old. This is 4th grade, so maybe 9. 4th grade is my favorite. That's my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a lot of 4th graders.
It was, but I was very enthusiastic. The mom had, hit me up a while ago for it. And she said, she was raised in the South, and she had been in a sorority, and she was just like, she said, we're losing these etiquette, our manners and why they're important. And I said, I couldn't agree more. I said, some people have even said we've lost our social graces, which is just being polite, that men, you're not supposed to wear hats, and it drives me good. We go to restaurants, and there's a guy at the next table wearing a baseball cap, and it's like, you're not supposed to wear a hat indoors.
Right. I know.
How to properly hold and things like that. And it's not for the purpose of looking better than everybody else. It's to present your best self, for starters, but it's also to make other people feel comfortable. So when and I go back to the forks, why, people are like, but it's too confusing, so you make them uncomfortable. And I said, well, not when you just work your way in. It makes it very simple, and you're not asking people to keep reusing utensils if
Right,
they have
right.
an issue
Be
with
like,
that.
hold on, yeah, hold on to your
Yeah.
foot. Like, don't let it
Yeah.
go with that plate.
Yeah, exactly. And it's more than just, I tell them too, it's more than just saying please and thank you. It really is about presenting your best self in a way that makes other people enjoy being in your presence,
Right,
and showing them that you respect them.
right,
And yeah, I do think a lot of that that we have lost a lot because of social media.
right.
We can get behind a microphone without a camera and say anything we want to say now, and because we have a government that has shown us a complete lack of stability,
Right.
that don't get along anymore.
Right, right.
So as my podiatrist recently said, he said, when you have a mom and dad who cannot get along, when you've got parents that are constantly fighting, what do you expect your children to do?
Yeah,
So I thought that was a
That's-
neat perspective.
that's
So
interesting. And
anyway.
it made me think of, so I got Piper some books for Christmas, and one of them is called Elle the Humanist, like the little girl's name Elle. And I was reading up on it because we just had some, I don't know, random experiences recently where it was kind of like church stuff was coming up and whatever. And so, and Piper isn't like real, not like doesn't really know exactly what all's going on. And so I wanted to, yeah, get her kind of some books that were like more informational and not like necessarily faith-based or whatever. But so Elle the
Okay.
Humanist, what's very interesting. So it basically is explaining like your friends might say they're this religion or this or whatever, and like be like, that's cool. Like, did you know that really all of us have one thing in common? And it's like been said different ways, and they say it in there, but it's like the golden rule, right?
Yeah.
But this one, I love this. This book takes it up a notch, and they have created the platinum rule. And it's not treat people the way you want to be treated. It's treat others the way they want to be treated. Because they gave, like, in the book, it's a super simple example of like the girl's like, you know, I love being tickled. I think it's so fun. My little brother hates being tickled. So I'm not going to treat him the way I want to be treated because I know that he doesn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I heard that, I was like, that's brilliant. I love that. Like,
yeah, I just
respecting
applied it to a
everyone.
situation in my own head of something, where I've said, I've told somebody it really hurts me when you say that.
Right,
And that person said, well, it would never hurt me if somebody said that to me.
right. And you're
But
like,
you should care enough about me to
right,
not do that, knowing that it hurts me.
right.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
that's
It's like, you know how they want to be treated.
Yeah, that is very good. I like that.
Yeah. So yeah, we haven't actually read it much, like at all. I think we read it like one time
Mhm.
because we're bad over here. We don't read books a lot. That happens over at Dad's house.
You're very busy. So you've been working too. And how many you're working? What, 40 hours a week?
So I work 20 hours, at least 20 hours a week for the attorney, and I'll say at least because it's usually like no more than 23 hours. I usually can't squeeze any more than that. And
Okay.
and then yeah, promotional items is kind of like around the clock, like when I can get to it kind of thing. Like it's emails, calls. And then yeah, being BNI president is like, I don't know, a lot of prep work and stuff. And then on top of that, we're trying to sort of reestablish what the British American Chamber is and does. And so like it's like us core like four, anyway, like 5 core like board members trying to do this, and it's like, oh my god, like I don't, it's like I have the love for the British Chamber, right? Like I'm in it because of the name. but it's like I have to be, and I realize I'm saying this online, but like yeah, I'm like I'm it's out there, but I'm like, but it really like it's a lot of like work. So yeah, trying to keep my head above water and like yeah, not lose it.
Is it still a labor of love? That would be my question.
It's more like a labor of hopeful future love.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Oh, and not everything we do can be fun,
Right.
it will have its rewards, there are
Right,
moments that it's
right.
fun, but you have to invest into it, sure.
Right. And this, like with Houses of Windsor, right? Like I essentially have, I mean, and I'll say this, whatever online, people probably already noticed. The only time I am online is like for this or Friday tea time. Like I don't post anymore.
No,
I
I've
don't
noticed, I
have
have
time.
noticed, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have time to post. I don't have time to like do emails or like anything. I'm essentially not marketing or doing anything active in it other than trying to like make sure the website isn't crashed or whatever. But
Yeah.
like, and just filling the odd order here and there
Right.
as it comes in. And so that also kills me because I'm like, I understand I have to do these other businesses, right? But it's like now I'm just like being completely pulled away from what my initial plan was, right?
Yeah.
Not saying that there's anything wrong, it's just not the way that it was that I thought it was going to go.
Yeah, well,
I
I
appreciate
have
still
noticed,
having this tea, like this tea life. Like,
right?
I'm glad we created this.
Yes, yes, and this has been, and this is something I hope that we could do continue. So I did announce to
Yes.
you that I'm not going to continue with Cup and Crown. As my husband said, he said, you don't have to necessarily quit it. He said, let's just put it on hold for a little while. Now, I just got a text from him and it is official. The Navy has accepted his retirement just like an hour ago. They finally said they stamped the seal of approval for
My
it.
gosh.
Not that we expected that they would, and he's put in 30
Yeah,
years
yeah.
for current. So we have a lot to figure out in the next 6 months. Are we moving? Are we staying? If we move,
You're
what
moving
school
down
for
here.
Jackie? Will we homeschool because they don't have good schools for her where we think we
Right.
might end up? Where are we going to end up? What job is he going to get?
Yeah,
Are we staying here? If we stay here, do we renovate the house? If we stay here, do we move to another place?
Yeah.
The insurance, life insurance that the Navy offers us, they're big decisions, and because it's a certain amount of money that has to be allotted.
Okay.
Our situation is different. We have a child, especially. There is so much going on right now.
Yeah.
And instead, I just planned a trip to Disney World. So
Love it. That's amazing.
we have our 25th anniversary coming up this summer, and we want to take a retirement, just the two of us, to Ireland if we can do it. I'm not getting requests for business. I am not getting requests for business. And I kept wondering, COVID is really, for the most part, it's over. The effects, I'm not going to say that it's over. I mean, I know that COVID is still running through and everything,
Sure. But like
people have returned to normal for the most part.
Yes.
It was my lifeline, my sanity, my saving grace. We did a lot of teas. I was able to do your Friday tea time. I had a lot of time to do gorgeous photographs and do a lot of baking and stuff like that. Don't have that time anymore. And I've found that a lot of people don't have the same interest that they did when we were all desperate to make connection to the outside world.
Right. Oh yeah, like Friday tea time, it's like become the Trevor and Amy show.
Yeah.
Sometimes Kat.
Yeah. I'm sure I have no doubt.
Everyone else is just like on with their lives.
Yes. Yeah. And so, and inflation has not helped either, because it's always been difficult for you and I to justify what we do when it comes to doing a tea party. When you are a one-woman show trying to pull off a tea for 10 or more people, and trying to justify that price to people. Now prices have gone up, and
so
don't have the money to pay for parties like that.
Right.
So it just
and we would just need to charge more. Like anyway. So
or take a hit and say, that my time is not as valuable as it used to be.
Right.
So I am pulling back.
Yeah. So that is a good reflection on it though, like making me think about it for myself too, how you said like it was like a lifeline. I'm like, well, yeah, really, like it has developed me personally and professionally, like since the divorce completely. Like, I mean, I think about like even just like the first networking thing I went to, I met my business coach, right, Sherry, and like she was awesome, and she through that like basically got me into the world of personal development and basically becoming self-aware, like reflective. Like I mean, it's like I've reached different levels of all kinds of stuff that
Sure.
aren't necessarily reflected in the profit of Houses of Windsor, but have like come in, you know, are, I'll say, are more important in certain ways, right? Like,
Right.
but so yeah, so it's sort of like the whole thing of where like there's like certain parts of chapters of your life and blah blah blah, and like
Yes.
each thing helps guide you to the next thing.
Yeah. I hate not renewing my website because God, I poured so much time
Yeah.
and creativity into that. And I think what
And I just love the name of it.
oh, thank
I
you.
just love it so
You
much.
can buy it. I'll sell it. I keep praying somewhere before March, somebody's gonna offer me to pay to take over my domain
Love
name.
it. Yeah.
makes
That's
my-
hilarious. Yeah. Well, if you hold on to it long enough, some.
I know, right? Yeah. So what I really want to go in and do is take screenshots of every
Yes.
page and what I wrote and the colors and the pictures and
That's
stuff
true.
like
You
that.
should.
Just so I have it somewhere that, you know, that when I'm old and can't remember anything or I'm dead and gone, that, you know, my boys say, well, mom had for a little time there, mom had her own little business, you know,
Right. Yeah.
you know, so that's where I'm having a really hard time letting it go. I really am. And I had breakfast with a friend the other day. So we have right down the street, this old prison, huge grounds, and it's actually called the Workhouse. So it was less of a prison and more of a rehabilitation center at the turn of the century. And I'm talking from the 1800s, the 1900s.
Yeah. I was gonna like a rehabilitation.
Yes,
center.
exactly. No, but it was. But so they held suffragettes there too.
Oh,
So
okay.
there is the history, and right down the street, closer to the river, used to be where they made bricks. So there are a couple of old antiquated kilns back there,
Oh,
and
cool.
they've turned part of that into a memorial with this beautiful statue and everything to the suffragettes of the United States, and women's votes, and how they, you know, the ratification of how that came about throughout the states and how long it took each
Oh,
state
cool.
to come around. So there's apparently a little museum, and they're renovating this whole field. You should see it, Amy. It's one of these places, Jose and I, we drive by, and I'm like, they could turn that into a restaurant. That could be a bar. That could be a wedding venue. You know, there's so much potential there. And they actually, the urban planning actually does have designs for this, in keeping the old buildings and the history and the integrity of the history of it, but renovating it to give it new purpose, because it's this massive amount of land, and gorgeous brick buildings, and nobody uses brick anymore. So anyway, so my friend, whose name is also Amy was telling me that she's gotten a job in their museum as the hostess. I said, I didn't even know there was a museum. And she said, she said, I've been trying to talk to their PR staff. And she said, you need to do this. And there should be a celebration every year on the anniversary of when the states granted voting rights. And I said, well, and then there was a different date for Virginia, which was a few months later. And then there was this, and she and I, just between the two of us, had these enormous ideas, mostly her. And she said, so I was wondering if you'd be willing to talk to somebody, if they brought somebody in to give a lecture on on the suffragette movement, that they could do it with a tea. Would you be willing to do tea? And I'm like, oh my God, that sounds fabulous.
Right.
And she says, it's little old ladies, and it's never a lot of them. It's just a handful of women.
Right.
And I said, I'm trying to pull back, but this is the kind of thing I would have loved to have done over bridal showers. You know,
I know. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, it's like.
So I'm wondering, I'm thinking of still going about this more as a hobby kind of thing rather than a catering kind of stuff. So if they want sandwiches, I can do. This is what you get. You get your standard sandwich. I'm not doing this, you know, big variety or anything. And I will move to sticky finger scones.
For sure.
And and I'll order some high quality tea, but I'm not going to be going all crazy with the flavors and stuff like that. You get your Assam, you can have your English breakfast and your Earl Grey. But yeah, it sounded like a really, like, please have her call me.
That sounds nice. Well, and like, so that's, I have similar things where it's like people now, oh, hey, Jackie.
Hi.
Hi. I haven't seen you in a while. How's it going?
I'm having my checkup this morning.
You did have a checkup. We're not going to talk about that right now. So you go get your stuff unpacked, okay? And watch out for the cord. You were saying.
Oh, I was just gonna say that, yeah, people, it's like, and it was like when I was, I'll just say, beginning in business or like telling people the idea, right, of what I do, everyone's reaction is like, oh, like, how is that? Like, is that doing all right? And now when I tell people that I'm not doing tea parties, they're like, oh, no, you're not, like, but what about this? Like, I thought this, and I'm like, so it's like everyone's upset that it's no longer, I'm like, no, I'm just like online retail now. And like although I do, people that I know, I have a couple people that have like rented China for me. So I was going to suggest that to you.
You did tell me about that. Yes.
Yeah. So I have done that, and my neighbor, I had her do it. She watched the cats for the full week and a half that we were in Indiana. But she was throwing a Bridgerton themed tea party for someone's birthday party. Yeah. And
Right.
like, she said that like they couldn't believe it that she had real tea sets. Like it was just like made the whole thing. And so, and I of course gave you like the tea stand, like the cake.
Right.
stands
Right.
and
Big
stuff,
things and everything, yeah.
and like she has she drinks Adagio Earl Grey, the neighbor does, and but she's like, but that's like all I've got. Is that okay? And so she didn't even know about like the paper tea filters. So it's like, oh come on, like so.
Yeah.
And I told her, I was like, I'll give you a couple other ones. Like I gave her like 4 teapots, like, and she just said it was like amazing. But so it's like I get that you lose the hostessing element out of it, but I actually really enjoyed consulting her. Like I advised her where to go to get certain things because she was like heading out to the stores, and I was like, if you can find them, get your macarons in Walmart's frozen section. I go,
Yes.
I'm not kidding, those things are delicious. They're
Yes,
so,
it's good.
so
We
great.
have them
great
here at
price.
Giant. You can get Costco, and it's a good, nice big box. And they do
Oh, I
them.
forgot.
Yeah, and they're like $15. At least they were,
Yeah. But
inflation.
yeah.
And I just remember there was somebody brought some to 4th of July. So they actually had red, white, and blue. So it was like raspberry, vanilla,
Oh, cool.
blackberry, it was blueberry.
Yeah,
And then they still had the coffee, whatever, but it had a red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
And then when you go around Thanksgiving time, they have pumpkin spice,
Oh,
pistachio,
wow.
and vanilla and coffee. So you had your orange, your green, your mocha,
Right.
and lemon, because you'd have the yellow. So they had fall colors. So they're beautiful.
That's
and they're
awesome.
such a good price,
Oh yeah. So like that's smart. I forgot about Costco. So that's even a better idea. And then and then I told her like for like, if it's people who don't know tea time, right? Get the scones that Publix makes. I was
Yes.
like,
Yes.
I'm like, they're good enough for certain crowds.
Yes, they are. Absolutely. If
like,
you have an all British crowd,
don't-
probably not, but this
Yeah,
is
it's like
American crowd.
don't invite Nancy and I over for and break out the plastic container of stones.
Who come in with the t-shirt says, I am silently judging your scones and correcting your grammar. That would be my t-shirt. Yeah, very, very true.
But so when I'll just say when you get people like that happen to say like, oh, but I would love you, do this or that, be like, well, I can help tell you how to have a tea party, like, and I can,
Rent you my teacup.
my china and whatever, but but when you're talking about the whole historical thing, before you mentioned tea party, I was thinking like, oh my God, Nancy, you belong in like a historical society, like type thing. Like, why are you not part of some group?
I know, seriously. Because Gunston Hall, which is where I tried to get the job, the home of one of our state founders, would love to do something like that. If you and I are talking about the stress of the baking and the stress of the sandwiches, keeping them fresh, making them delicious, not having them be soggy, not having them be stale. The sandwiches stress me out more than anything else, which is funny when it comes down to it. It's the sandwiches. I'll do a cream tea all day long. I will make, I'll even do them scratch. I will do that. I've gotten pretty comfortable with the traditional scone, but the rest of everything else, I had tried to pair up with, based in conversation with you, to pair up with a caterer who could do them for a couple dollars per sandwich, stuff like that. That had to go to the wayside of COVID because none of them could serve during COVID and had to shut down. But assuming they're back up and running, I would be willing to, contact, I could, you just have to weigh that profit with what you're
Right.
paying for, the catering. But I got pretty good at making the, mini ham and cheese on mini croissant that they're Pepperidge Farm
Right.
croissants, the cucumber sandwich, because they get soggy so quickly. But yeah, if you could have somebody else do that and take that out there where you're just picking up and going to the event and serving, super easy, super
That would be
easy.
much,
And,
much better.
Yeah, and she said if you even wanted to talk a little bit about what tea time was like in America around the time of the suffragettes, she said we might even give you 5 minutes on the stage. So I'm like, well, that would be kind of cool too. So, so we'll see. It, like Jose said, not necessarily throwing the whole idea away. It's just putting things on hold right now. Not necessarily, I'm certainly not advertising in the bridal area anymore. If I can find a different way to do this and be comfortable with it, then I will. But
move down here and get a job doing something in St. Augustine. There's history for you.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
I mean, there's history everywhere. I just know St. Augustine.
Yeah, exactly. It's just that General Sherman came through and burned most of it all through Georgia. We still have ours up here, and yeah. So like I said, we like I said, you might find us down that way. Find us down that way. So we'll see. So on that note,
yes,
I need to clean up.
Thank you for your extra time. This is wonderful.
No, I'm so glad we weren't rushed because it has been that way the last couple times. So I appreciate you switching days.
I gotta say Mondays might be better. I feel like, I don't know, like on a Monday where I don't have Piper in the morning, which is what today was, and I don't pick her up, like, because we switched our schedules around starting in January. So I was like, oh, like I go to the office, I do that. I come do this. It's not the day before BNI. Like I'm not doing BNI prep, right? Like I'm not scrambling.
Yeah. Well, hit me up. I can't say that I sub every Monday. It is a high request day because, as you imagine, everybody seems to get sick of the weekend or they want to take a long weekend or something.
Right.
But it seems like my days lately have been Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. But there's no rhyme or reason. I definitely work every Thursday. But again, I'm in charge of my schedule. I think I told you I get a bonus if I work so many days.
So I get that. Yeah. But we can always like plan, like plan for a day and then whatever, it'd be tentative. So
but if it's on my calendar, those are the things that I schedule off. That's why I do that. So I was at birthday lunch for a friend of mine today. I did get requested. Can you? No, I'm sorry. I had this. Yes, I could team this up that I can open up tomorrow to any requests if they have.
Right.
So we'll see. But yeah, I'd be amenable to mornings as well if you'd be interested. If
Well, I was like, I would. So it's like that's the problem is like I would be, but now I'm basically always at the attorney's from like 9 to 1.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Not a problem. But if you want to try to, you are up next. You tell me. If you want to hit me with a Monday, let me see if I can make that happen. And you have some lovely tea gifts there. I would not ever.
Oh no! I'm already planning. I'm already planning on sharing.
This looks so yummy.
I'm gonna have to try the rare yellow tea. That's happening.
So
especially since the Golden Monkey and what's the other one that you mentioned?
Golden Yunnan.
Yeah, since you know those so well, I want to know what you think of
about this one
flavor, the taste.
Yeah. We have a wonderful chain of grocery stores up here called Wegmans. I hope Florida is lucky enough to get a couple somewhere near you because they're just amazing. For reasons I'll explain later, but they do have a tea section. Most of them are boxed and not impressive, but then they used to be able to go in and open up the tins and measure your own loose leaf. And they used to have a really big selection of them. COVID, there's no more.
Of course.
Let me get my face in there. So now they pre-package a pound of it. And one of the teas there, as Jackie's always asking me, it's purple tea. If you've ever heard of purple tea. And
Right.
it is a black tea, but it gives off a slightly purple hue in the cup.
Oh, that's cool.
And I have tried a sample. It was decent. It was a standard black tea to me, but
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
that's funny. Well, I did try the white chai because I love
like
chai.
chai?
I've never had a white tea chai. It was delicious.
I
Yeah.
bet.
Yeah. And it's like
Interesting.
I felt like if this were a blind taste test, would I think it tasted as amazing as I think it does? Or is it because I know Harrods is in my mind?
Oh, good point.
Because I'm just like thinking like this just seems like it's a whole nother level.
Right?
But I'm like, it could be because of all the branding.
And you had me at Harrods. You don't need to.
Yeah, I know. I was like,
Yeah.
but also I don't think that they like put out crap. So
Yeah, exactly.
everything's okay.
Well, before I sent you these, I thought, you and I never really did a tasting just for English breakfast. And I thought I almost sent you
Oh,
that
wow.
British, the Tetley
Yeah.
with the Twinings,
Mhm.
with what was, and the Amonte that I like, just to
Yeah,
go through
yeah.
the
That would be
variety and see which
interesting.
ones we really like.
Yeah, that would be good. I was
So
like, and on that note, it's like we could also do like the British classics or standards, whatever, like the daily cuppas, right? So like PG Tips versus Yorkshire versus
Thai food.
yes, thank you, Taifu. Yeah. I was like, I know there's another one. Yeah.
You know why I had that in my brain? Because Ford versus Ferrari was on yesterday, and if you ever seen the movie, the guy was Australian. It's I can't think of the actor's name right now. It's on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, he was Australian, but one scene where he's working on the car and they zero in, there's a Thai food box sitting on the, and they start the shot there, and then they move over to him working on the car. And I was like, oh, Thai food, I forgot about Thai food.
Right.
Yeah, and then there's Berries. If we wanted to, Berries is the
Oh,
number
you're
one
right.
brand in Ireland, not so much in England. but
Yes,
Ireland.
that's
So,
true.
but yeah, that would be. I haven't done PG Tips in forever. So
I know that's the thing. Yeah, I was like, I have PG Tips a lot. It's like I obviously have Yorkshire, and then I think I still have Taifu that I'm drinking. Yeah, it's like I have those, but
yeah,
PG Tips I
I've
gotta
enjoyed
get.
those. Well, if I come across these,
Yes,
I will box them up and send them to you with the next
thank
round.
you. Awesome.
All right, hon. Good to talk to you.
All right, excellent. Wonderful to talk to you.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye.